and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton, and today we're going to take a look at an institution that's been in Phoebus for 150 years. It's the Freemason Lodge, the Monitor Lodge. My guest is Joe Grist. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you. Appreciate being here.
You know, when we first talked about this, I thought, no, you can't come on the show and talk about being a Freemason. It's like top secret, right?
That's the myth. I mean, we're an organization. Everyone thinks we're this great secret organization, but if we're so secret, everyone knows where our lodges are.
That's true. There's a big sign on it.
We got a nice big website, both with our Grand Lodge and with our own lodge. It tells you the history, who have been members. We're not shy about any of this. There's some things. We have rituals where we teach our members some things that the reason it's kind of secret is we want them to learn there. We don't know ahead of time. It kind of emphasizes the teachings. But outside of that, everything we do is out in the open.
Well, there's some, ritual passed down through generations can be a very important element in unifying people and creating a sense of purpose.
And the ritual that we learn is actually, it's not written, it's spoken by words. So we actually pass it down that way. That's how we learn it, which actually just gives a little extra special meaning to what we're doing, something that's been passed down through the generations. So it's really great. And just being part of it, we're all about community service. We're located right there in the Phoebus community, and a community that we definitely love. And we love working with our partners down there. The events committee down there at Phoebus United Methodist Church is right across the field from us. We actually share a field for activities. So we're very much in the community service and love Hampton.
So if I were to say to you, describe to me what the Freemasons organization is about, to you anyway, I realize.
The basic way I could describe it is, we take good men and we make them better. That's the whole premise about it. So what we do is we will work with them, take a good person who's interested and start teaching them some additional values. We're very big on family. We're very big on attending church. That's actually one of the myths. They think Freemasonry is some religion. We're not.
I have heard that.
Yeah, we're not a religion at all. We very much, we have members that go to various churches throughout the city, throughout the whole area. We're very open to different religions within Freemasonry. The key to Freemasonry is you just must believe in God, a singular God. So you could be a Christian, you could be Jewish, you could be Muslim, as long as you have a singular God. That's the key with Freemasonry that a lot of people don't understand. Mm-hmm. It's not a religion. We're open to those in various religions. And that's why we're worldwide. There's over 4.7 million Masons in the world.
Holy
just
cow.
In North America, there's a couple million just here. We're very big on community service. We're very big on charities, something that we jokingly talk about. We're kind of the quiet charity. We're not out here advertising on billboards that often about what we do, but there's some very, very present charities out there. You've heard of the Shriners hospitals. Mm-hmm. The Shriners are all Masons.
Wait, I didn't know that.
Yes, a lot of people don't know that. They don't realize to be a Shriner, you must be a Freemason.
Now I'm thinking of the symbol on the on the hat. Okay.
You probably have heard of the Scottish Rite. There is a Scottish Rite temple over on Saunders Road in Newport News. They do a lot with the child learning centers here. One is actually based over in Old Dominion University. There's a joint women's organization in the Masons known as the Amaranth. They do a lot of work with diabetes. We also have the Eastern Star, which supports, which is also a men and women's organization in the Masons, supporting various charities. We have 3 youth organizations. Now here it is, the Masons, that's the guys club. Not really. So we have ones for the ladies and the men. We also have 3 youth, the DMLA for our boys, which is basically ages around 11 to 20. And we actually have 2 for our young ladies, which is ironic for a lot of people to realize.
Yeah.
We have what's known as the Job's Daughters International. And then we have the International Order of the Rainbow for Girls. Monitor Lodge is proud host of an International Order Rainbow for Girls chapter, Hampton Assembly number 2. This is an organization that we've hosted since 1975 that is, and they're teaching these young ladies service, community service, leadership, and speaking skills. And they just do some wonderful charitable work themselves. One of the things our local assembly's done just in the last 3 years, they raised over $2,700 for Operation Smile. In fact, one of our...
That is a lot of money for young girls to raise.
$250 per operation. So that means that was at least 10 operations that they funded.
Wow.
One of our young ladies actually had been a benefactor of Operation Smile.
Oh my gosh.
And you
That
could
brings
never
it
tell
home, doesn't it, to
brought
girls?
brought it
Yeah.
home. Through Wounded Warrior, we're a big military area. So you got $3,000 in the last 3 years raised for Wounded Warriors. So that's just our youth. But to the lodge itself, proud history here. It's all tied back to Fortress Monroe. So Monitor Lodge, this is our 150th year under the Grand Lodge of Virginia Charter. And what reason we say it that way is because we were actually chartered first by the Grand Lodge of Maryland. So it's 1862, December.
Okay.
The USS Monitor had been, of course, in the famous battle here in Hampton Roads. They're off of Cape Hatteras and it sinks. Caught in a gale out there, and we lost the Monitor. Fortress Monroe was also the home of not only just Army soldiers, but U.S. naval officers. In early 1863, these U.S. naval officers petitioned the Grand Lodge of Maryland for a
Because
dispensation.
Virginia really wasn't playing at that time when the Union.
They had a little thing, the Civil War going on.
Not
and
really a part of the
Grand Lodge
country.
of Virginia, which was in existence, was what we call kind of dark. It just wasn't operating fully at that time. So under the Grand Lodge of Maryland in 1863, they first got dispensation, then eventually a charter that May to operate a lodge at Fortress Monroe. It became Monitor Lodge number 113. So this went on through the Civil War, and many lodges kind of were formed during this time by the military. Actually, during that time, there were a lot of military in the Masons, and there exists today too, because it's that brotherhood that they found in military was directly tied to the Masons, the same type of brotherhood. We get to about 1865, Civil War has now gone past, we've gotten past Appomattox, and the lodges that have been now created in Virginia under other Grand Lodges turn around and said, okay, let's go and get under the Grand Lodge of Virginia. So in late 1865, they transitioned. In December 13th, 1865, the Grand Lodge of Virginia issued a charter to Monitor to take it over from the Grand Lodge of Virginia. And on January 2nd, 1866, Monitor Lodge number 197 was officially born. So we're celebrating that 150th anniversary.
Even though you're a little bit older, technically.
That's it. Now, we met at Fort Monroe for quite a number of years. They actually met over the stables at Fortress Monroe all those years. It doesn't exist anymore because in 1893, at the end of 93, they found out they're going to tear the stables down. So in 1894, they briefly met at St. Tammany Lodge. We have a direct connection with them. That's a lodge that's over 250 years old in the city.
Wow.
And the building that we now have at 212 East Mellon Street, that is our building that was built in 1894, and we've been there ever since. It's really unique history. We've had members, if we go through our records, Harrison Phoebus was a member of Monitor Lodge, namesake for Phoebus.
Right, important member of our community.
Quite a few. Cornerstone Lane, we're known to lay cornerstones. So one of the things there is that the cornerstone of at the Victory Monument in Yorktown, when Chester Arthur was there, President Arthur was there, laying it in 1881, Monitor Lodge was part of that laying. They laid a lot of cornerstone for all the buildings in this area, the churches, the different lodges and everything.
Because they were actual Masons at one time, or at least some of them were, right? I mean,
Well,
what is that connection?
Yeah, so we go back and we're actually kind of built off of that. Now, it's more symbolic now as Masons.
Okay.
But yes, the original Masons really were stonemasons. And to travel between kingdoms, to travel between countries, they didn't have papers, they didn't have degrees. They basically had handshakes. They had different ways of identifying each other to know that, yes, this is a true stonemason. He's part of our guild. He should be allowed to travel. All the cathedrals built in Europe were built by stonemasons. They were one of the few individuals able to travel from kingdom to kingdom to do this work, whereas most others were under some type of rule of a king. They could travel. So it kind of comes from there, and then over time in England, this was developed into more of a symbolic lodge to bring in others toward this type of guild. So now symbolically we use a lot of the tools of the stonemason to teach lessons of life to our current members. And you'll see a lot of the symbols, a lot of working tools as we call them, anything from trowels to levels and stuff. And you'll hear things, guys on the level, it's a square.
Gotcha.
These are part of the things.
It brings this ancient tradition into today's world.
Yeah, and some of the things you hear today, if you gave them the 3rd degree, well, that's actually kind of a reference back to the Masons a little bit. But it's all about symbolism and trying to teach someone to do something better. And it's a wonderful organization.
So why are you a member? Personally speaking, what made you join the Masons and become so active?
This is one of the funny things when you mentioned the secret earlier. When you talk about the Masons, you're like, how do I become one? And that's the key. You have to ask one to become one. They don't seek you out. You seek them. But once you ask, you find out more. I had a lot of family members that I knew had been Masons. My grandfather had been a past master of Bremond Lodge over in Newport News. I knew this, but I didn't know anything else. They wouldn't tell us anything.
They didn't talk about it.
Until we asked.
Okay.
I had a family member out at Monitor Lodge. I could have joined many lodges in the area, but I had a family member at Monitor. That led me to Monitor Lodge. And I've found at Monitor Lodge a group of friends there that I would never met any other way, that are going to be lifelong friends of different parts of this area. Could be a councilman, it could be a regular worker. There's a myth about Masons. We're all rich. No, definitely not. All tracks of life. But what happens in a lodge is key. When we walk in that lodge room, we're all equal. Doesn't matter. You could be the President of the United States, which there have been many Masons who are presidents. Doesn't matter.
Starting with George Washington?
Starting with George Washington, Andrew Jackson, James Monroe, Fortress Monroe is named for, Teddy Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, Harry Truman, Gerald Ford, all Masons. So it's one of those things where you can walk in that room, you're equal with everyone else in there. There's no discrimination on any level. And that is probably one of the greatest things, knowing that when you walk in there, you're on the level with everybody in that room. It's one of those things that just makes it special. And a lot of people can't understand until they get there and they see it in action. But the history, just to make note of the history, because I think Hampton should be proud of this. You've got St. Tammany here, 250 years of Freemasonry, that lodge. You got Monitor, we've got 150 years. And then you got Army and Navy out in Fox Hill. They actually started at Fort Monroe in 1910 and were there until 1977. And then eventually moved over to Fox Hill.
As you say, the military tradition in this area really is part of what ties in to the Masonry.
It does. It's the same brotherhood. Actually, a lot of members who join now from the military is because when they've left the military, they're looking for that same fraternity that they had in the military.
Well, and if you're moving from place to place, it's a way to have an instant community, too, to be welcomed and to find people you can be part of.
As a Mason under Grand Lodge of Virginia, I'm recognized in almost every state of a Grand Lodge in the United States and also in other countries. So if I travel somewhere, if I look up and find a lodge in that area that recognizes us, I can contact them ahead of time, say, hey, I'm going to be there. And I'll have a contact if I have any problems. I traveled to Alaska a couple years ago. I contacted lodges out there. Every location I went to, I had a contact that if I had one bit of problem, I could call them up and they'd come help me out. And that's a brotherhood that's unspeakable. It's just the fact that we took the same oath, we're part of that same brotherhood, we made that commitment to everyone who's in part of it. And,
so brotherhood, community service, commitment, giving back, these are all the kinds of things that you do behind the secrecy.
But we're wide open about it, and of course patriotism.
And you see, you've already given us one of your secrets, which is if you want to join, find a member and ask about it.
Yeah, you can find us. Monitor Lodge has its own website, monitorlodge.org. The Grand Lodge of Virginia is easy to find if you Google it, and there's a ton of information on their website about Virginia, about Masonry, how to join. We're out there. We're very public, and we just kind of do some things behind the scenes a little bit that not so much as in a nefarious way. It's kind of just because we're not looking for, a lot of we're not looking to make it a big highlight.
Well, and that's an interesting thing because there are a lot of reasons that people volunteer and that people invest in their community. And sometimes it is that they want recognition. And that's valid, absolutely valid. You should be recognized for what you do. But if you guys are doing it not for recognition, it's not a secret, it's just underground a little bit.
We're just doing it to do it because we think that's the way we should do it. It's how we should be operating in our community. Just help someone to help somebody.
That is a great note to end on. First, though, are there any activities during this anniversary year or anything you want to talk about?
Well, we do have our 150th at the Monitor Center at the Mariners Museum. That's on March 22nd. 26th, sorry.
Okay.
We have a lot of dates in Masonry we have to keep up with. But March 26th, 6 p.m. at the Mariners Museum, we'll have our 150th anniversary. We're actually going to be presenting, and I'll announce this here, we're actually presenting 3 Community Builders Awards. And this is a very special award that the Masons give out.
Builders, this just really gets back to your history.
So the 3 individuals who will be receiving these awards will be the Secretary of Natural Resources, someone you may know, Molly Ward.
I have heard of her. No, I know Molly, of course.
Glenn Oder from the Fort Monroe Authority.
Fort Monroe, perfect.
And Chief Minetti.
That's wonderful.
We're going to give those awards at March 26th at the Mariners Museum. We have a car show in the very first part of June on June 4th out at the Lodge that has been a big hit for the community. We're looking forward to doing that. We'll participate in the Spring Fling and the Fall Festival in Phoebus as well. And we're going to do a couple other events that we're still kind of working out. But anything we can do in the community is what we really want to do.
Well, thank you for coming. I've learned a lot. I hope people out there have learned a lot too. The Masons do a great deal to contribute to, particularly you guys in Phoebus, but to the community in general. So thank you, Joe, for coming.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your 150th anniversary.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. I hope you have learned a little bit about the Freemasons and the work they do in our society. Thanks.